Is Max Verstappen feeling some heat? Youngsters are in full force this weekend. There might be a new Lewis Hamilton. Lando Norris is chasing a record he doesn't want. And it's all about the Samba and the Ramba and sombreros. It's Mexico. Let's go racing.
They exist in a world beyond ours. This is Formula One.
Hola, buenas noches. It's all about Mexico this weekend. It is the LGR F1 show coming to you live from our bespoke Suzuki pop-up store in the Menlyn Shopping Centre. Jaco and Pia, who are actually doing the show this evening, they are using, what is that? It's like a bucky kind of thing. What do you call it? Like a like a little mini bucky. They're using that as the studio. They are so clever. Fritz wouldn't have thought that. He would have been sitting on the floor. Anyway, well done, boys. Well done, boys. Texas was last week. Mexico, do you know how big Mexico City is? 9.5 million people. Now, I'm not a fan of booing in any form. I think it's discourteous. I think it lacks knowledge of fans, but it does happen. We've had it with Schumacher, we've had it with Senna, we've had it with Prost, we've had it with Lewis Hamilton, we had it with Sebastian Vettel, and we had lots of boos in Texas for Max Verstappen. Or was it for Max Verstappen? Apparently, most of the boos were for some governor or whatever who was handing out the trophy. Anyway, look, messages coming in already. I love it. Okay. So we had boos. Expect some more boos in Mexico. That's what everyone's saying. And I'm going, why? Red Bull is Checo Perez and it's Max Verstappen. Why would they boo Max Verstappen? It's not Max's fault that Checo's not really riding the crest of a wave. But we could have some boos this weekend. The circuit, of course, is the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Do you know who Hermanos Rodriguez is? Well, his name is Hermanos, but a lot of people call him Pedro Rodriguez. And he had a brother, whose brother's name? Ricardo Rodriguez. Amazingly, here's a fact that maybe you didn't know. What happened when Pedro Rodriguez won the South African Grand Prix at Kyalami many, many years ago? I'll let you know in a short while. Anyway, let's start with this. What is your genuine take on sprint races? We had the sprint race in Texas, and I got to be honest, I just don't buy into this. I find them too short. I find them nonsensical. I love the fact that there's only one free practice, but what are they really achieving? And then you've got, well, they're going to relook at the sprint races and maybe go with reverse grids. I totally agree with Toto Wolff. Better to have no sprint races than reverse grids. I think that is just nonsensical. This is not a junior formula. This is a Formula One. Martin Brundle, the Sky Sports expert, has also come out and sided with Max Verstappen over, as opposed to Lewis Hamilton, saying, what is the value of these sprint races? They don't really make any sense to anybody. Love to get your take on what the sprint races are. I just say, abolish them. Find something else to do. I don't know, work in a different kind of format for free practice 1 or free practice 2, but the sprint race just doesn't work for me. The US Grand Prix, I think, was great fun. For the first time, we saw Max under quite a lot of pressure. All right, there was quite a lot of banter between Max Verstappen and Giampiero Lambiase, who is his race engineer. Some of it a little bit unsavory. It seems as though quite a lot of expletives or expletives are used between the drivers and their race engineers. He was rude. He was also a little bit flustered during the race, complaining about various things. His brakes weren't working. And I was surprised a little bit because I think what he did. However, we may have an answer for that, and that comes from Helmut Marko. Helmut Marko says that, well, Max was grumpy the whole weekend. There we go. Grumpy the whole weekend in Austin, says Mr. Grumpy himself, Helmut Marko. But this is no laughing matter. Kelly Piquet, who is Max Verstappen's girlfriend, very, very beautiful, and she has a child by another Formula One racing driver, ex-Danny Kvyat. But she is an activist. She's an incredibly smart lady. She's very well educated, and she's also an activist, and she's also a philanthropist as well. She came out and posted on her Instagram stories a couple of weeks ago about the conflict in the Middle East, and a very objective point of view that came out to her, from her, looking at both sides and trying to say, you know, peace is what it's all about. Unfortunately, not everyone agreed with her, and death threats came made against her, which, I mean, is just disgusting. It really isn't needed. However, if you look at it, maybe that is something that affected Max Verstappen during the course of the weekend, maybe being protective over his girlfriend. Not entirely sure, but it's so easy to be judgmental in situations when we don't really know the full side of the story. I don't think a person like Max Verstappen gets affected by people booing against him. However, perhaps something when all of a sudden your girlfriend gets death threats, maybe that is something that has affected him. But what a great podium we had. Max, Lewis and Lando. Wasn't that fantastic? No, it wasn't. Lewis in second and Charles in sixth got disqualified. Yeah, there we go. It came out a couple of hours after the Grand Prix. Lewis lost his second place. Charles lost his sixth place. This is all about the underside of the car, which is called the plank. And as you can see in the picture over there, you can see sparks flying out of the Ferrari, sparks flying out of the Mercedes, but no sparks from the Red Bull. Lewis brought up a very interesting comment saying, hold on a second, 4 out of the top 8 cars were tested, and 4 of them were found to have, 2 out of the 4, 4 cars were tested, 2 out of the 4, which is 50%, seem to have a worn plank, and that's why they got disqualified. Surely they should have tested all of the position places and from there made another kind of decision. Maybe we would have had the 2 horses in the points as well. Now let's just go and understand what this plank is about and where it comes from. In multi-million-dollar cars with the craziest technology, the upper end of car manufacturing when it comes to Formula One, they have a wooden plank. Where did this wooden plank come from? We've got to go back nearly 30 years after that fateful and very, very nasty weekend of 1994 at Imola. The death of Roland Ratzenberger, the death of Ayrton Senna, the huge crashes of Rubens Barrichello. After that Grand Prix, from the German Grand Prix in 1994, it was mandated. The FIA put a plank under each of the cars for 2 specific reasons. The one was so that they could not adjust the ride height too low. So it meant that that plank was there. If you went too low, it was going to affect the ride height. And then, of course, it also affected the downforce underneath that was generated underneath the car. That is why the plank is there. Lewis and Charles, their respective cars, wore too much plank, and of course we saw the sparks there as well. Red Bull, no sparks. Mercedes had sparks. The Red Bull didn't have any sparks. Now, coming up, what has happened to Aston Martin, and Logan Sargent has scored a point. Just checking on some of the news. Can you believe it's like the 20th race of the season? We've only got 4 left. Mexico this coming weekend. Welcome back, and we are here. I can expect the Penta marketing team have done some amazing videos about the support of the box, and I can imagine there's going to be another brilliant one for this weekend. How nervous are you? I know we're talking Formula One, but my word, Saturday night. Great thing about it is as soon as the rugby's finished and we're all so elated, we can watch the qualifying. But more on that later. What has happened to Aston Martin? They arrived in the United States, very bullish, new upgrades. They expected a very competitive car. Instead, it all went wrong. Yeah, it did, unfortunately. Both of the cars started in the pit lane. Alonso actually went back to the old setup, was having a great race. And then, unfortunately, something went wrong for him. But Lance did score points. And for a guy who's under a tremendous amount of pressure, I think it was very, very important for him. So it wasn't too bad. No, it wasn't good. Okay. They've got to find something, and specifically going forward into 2024, because they started off so well. Ferrari have had an indifferent kind of season, but they're there or thereabouts. Mercedes are so much better than at the beginning of the season. McLaren are right up there, and well, Red Bull, we don't know how much development they've done on this car for the last couple of months, but all of a sudden, if you look at the USA, everyone was a lot closer to them. A young guy under a huge amount of pressure is Logan Sargent, and with the disqualification of Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, his name is Charles, by the way, not Charl. Charles, there we go. Can we tell everybody at Sky News? His name is Charles, not Charl. If it was Charl, it would be spelled C-H-A-L-R-L. It's Charles Leclerc, or Charles Leclerc, whichever you want to go. Ask him. His name is Charles. Anyway, okay, rant over. Where was I? Logan Sargent. Logan scored his first point in Formula One, better late than never. The statistic scared me, though. Check this out. This is the first time an American driver has scored since 1994, nearly 30 years. The last one was Michael Andretti. And I was going, hold on a second, we have had a few other American drivers since then. Scott Speed rings a bell. And then I thought, you know, Scott Speed was at Red Bull. Surely he scored a point. I went back and checked. No, he hadn't. So Logan Sargent, the first United States driver to score points since Michael Andretti. And Michael Andretti had a short spell in Formula One because he was the teammate of Ayrton Senna, couldn't handle the pace, got himself a podium, and then immediately McLaren dropped him. Maybe Andretti will be back 2025, we're hoping, as a team owner in Formula One. Okay, so Scott Speed didn't manage to do anything. As you might know, Nico Hülkenberg has the notorious record of being the most racingest driver in Formula One to have never scored a podium. He's got a pole position, and I think he's got a fastest lap as well. But Hülkenberg has never gotten on the podium, bizarrely, for such a talented driver. Nick Heidfeld has got many podiums in Formula One, but he has never had a win. And now, Lando Norris could take that title away from Nick Heidfeld. He's closing on the unwanted Formula One record, and he fears that McLaren have missed the best chance to win during this season. I mean, it's also bizarre to sit there and think that at McLaren, while Lando Norris has been there, who's his name? That guy, Danny Ricciardo, scored a win. And in a sprint race just 2 races ago, we had Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris could be taking that spot away from Nick Heidfeld as the most Grand Prix with podiums but without a win. I hope he gets a win because he really, really deserves it. Hey, guess who made the November cover of Vogue magazine? No, I know, no, it wasn't me, but it was Eva Green. Look at that. That's the November issue of Vogue magazine. I have a copy of, well, I have a couple of copies of it. if you understand what I mean. And they are on my side table at home. Yeah. Eva Green, the beautiful Eva Green. Is there a new Lewis Hamilton on the horizon? And we're talking about skill, speed, someone who can emulate Lewis Hamilton and go and achieve what he has achieved. And I'm not talking about Max Verstappen. Many believe Kimi is. No, not the Kimi that we all love. This guy on your screen, Kimi Antonelli. They think that Kimi Antonelli is going to be the next Lewis Hamilton. Okay, this guy is a driver for Mercedes, and all I can say is remember his name. This guy is someone to watch out for the future. Speaking of youngsters, Helmut Marko, and of course we've had all of the rumors of Helmut Marko and not being in a happy camp with Christian Horner at Red Bull. But Helmut Marko is doing a clean out at Red Bull, and he does this very, very regularly. You'll remember there was a brilliant South African talent a couple of years ago, most probably 10 years ago, Callan O'Keefe, who was a Red Bull Academy driver, and then unfortunately just got dropped like that. We would never ever know what Callan could have achieved, because I really, really rated that guy. But he's cleaning out all of the youngsters at the Red Bull Academy. Now just think of these names: Dennis Hauger, Zane Maloney, Enzo Fittipaldi, Jack Crawford. All are going to lose the backing of Red Bull. Man, you've got to hope that they're going to find somewhere else to drive, because those are four very, very talented drivers. I've been watching them in Formula 2, superb as well. And just to think, Red Bull Racing was so close to signing me. This was the time that I was offered the opportunity to be Vettel and Webber's teammate. And unfortunately, Helmut Marko also didn't. He said he would phone. I promise you. He said he would phone. But Helmut Marko didn't phone. And I never changed my number. That's what I don't understand. Okay. Coming up, all you need to know about Mexico. Mexico! It is Checo's place. Look at that. It is just stunning. I mean, Mexico, I don't know about the circuit so much, but the place is just incredible. If anybody needs a big race this weekend, it is Checo Perez. It is sombrero time. It is Samba time. It is Cinco de Mayo time. No. Cinco de Mayo is in May. Anyway, don't worry about that. Charles fan. Man, have you seen, look at the guys. We think the guys in Japan are crazy. There's a Charles Leclerc fan. It is Charles, Jaco, Pierre? It's Charles. Because it's amazing how it's spelled. It's spelled Charles. Incredible. Okay, so we all agree. Charles Leclerc will want to bounce back. You want to hope that his Ferrari is quicker as well. And perhaps maybe his strategist sits and goes, maybe not a good idea to run in the hard tire for so long. Yeah, let's rethink that. Okay, maybe they'll work that out. This weekend is a normal race weekend. We don't have a sprint race. There are quite a few development drivers for free practice one on Friday, which is going to be great to see some of these youngsters. We've got Frederick Vesti, who debuts for a Mercedes. Then, of course, we've got Jack Doohan. We've got Ollie Bierman, who goes in the Haas as a Ferrari Academy driver as well. Isaac Hadjar as well. So, you know what, do yourself a favor, watch that free practice one this weekend, because these are really, really talented young people who could well be in a Formula One. Now, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. I asked a question earlier on, what happened when Pedro Rodriguez won at Kyalami for the South African Grand Prix? Well, amazingly, the organizers of the South African Grand Prix in that year, and I think it was 19 71, could have been somewhere around there. I can't remember the exact date. They didn't have the Mexican national anthem because they didn't think that Pedro Rodriguez was going to win. So they played the Mexican hat dance as the national anthem. Man, I would love to have been there. I'd love to have footage of that, but that's quite amazing. Okay, so the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is part street circuit and part normal in terms of its layout. If one had to sit there and say what circuit is it like or similar to, one probably would have to say similar to Baku. Okay, and there it is. And at Baku, Sergio Perez won. What he would do for a win on Sunday. Weather-wise, it's going to be cloudy, but it's going to be warm. Looking at the circuit there on the screen as well, just, you know, you got that long straight, you've got lots of overtaking over there. You go through the stadium, the crowd is just wonderful. There are opportunities for drivers to make mistakes, so safety car can come in to be a play this weekend. In terms of tyres and tyre degradation, not that hectic at the circuit, but Pirelli, of course, will supply the softest of each of the compounds of the hard, the medium, and the soft, the C2, the C3, and the C5. There we go. C2, C4, C5. There we go. So the softest compounds that are coming from Pirelli this weekend. Now, here are the times for the Grand Prix this coming weekend when we can watch. It's going to be another late night, 8:30 on Friday, first practice, midnight, second practice, 4:30, is that 7:30 on Saturday evening, and then qualifying just after the rugby. That's if the rugby doesn't go into extra time. What do you do? I don't know. And then the race, 10 o'clock on Sunday evening. So, this weekend, we have got the Mexican Grand Prix. We have got South Africa, the Springboks playing against New Zealand, the All Blacks at the Stade de France in France for the Rugby World Cup final. Both teams have won the trophy 3 times. Only one team has won back-to-back, and that is New Zealand. If South Africa win, they win back-to-back. And if South Africa win, they'll be the first country to make it 4 titles. If New Zealand win, they will be the first team to make it 4 titles as well. With all of the kerfuffle that happened last weekend with Bongi Ngubane and, of course, the English, and clearly they don't know the Afrikaans language, all I can say is choose my side in Afrikaans. Let's go racing.